The moment my mother-in-law accused me of cheating in front of the entire delivery room, I thought my world was ending. But when the doctor said, "Actually, you deserve to know the truth," everyone's eyes turned to her instead of me. I'm Zara, and 3 years ago, I married the love of my life, Kai. At 28, I thought I had it all figured out. We had a beautiful wedding, a cozy home, and after 2 years of trying, we were finally expecting our first baby. But there was always one person who made me feel like I didn't quite belong in this perfect picture. Vera, my mother-in-law. Kai is 30, works in finance, and honestly, he's everything I could want in a husband. He's kind, hardworking, and absolutely devoted to his family. Maybe too devoted, if I'm being honest. Vera raised him as a single mother after his father left when he was young, and their bond is incredibly strong. Sometimes I felt like I was competing for his attention, even though I knew that wasn't fair. Vera is 55, a retired high school teacher who taught English for 30 years. She's the kind of woman who commands respect when she walks into a room, sharp, intelligent, and used to being in control. When I first met her, she was warm and welcoming. But as Kai and I got more serious, something shifted. She became critical of everything I did, my cooking, my career choices, even the way I organized our home. Dr. Iris Cole had been my obstetrician throughout the pregnancy. She's professional, compassionate, and always made me feel comfortable during appointments. I trusted her completely, which is why what happened next was so shocking. Nurse Jade was assisting with the delivery. She's probably in her mid-20s, newer to the job, and you could tell she wasn't used to family drama in the delivery room. The poor girl had no idea what she was about to witness. What started as the most beautiful day of my life turned into a nightmare I never could have imagined. The accusation that came out of Vera's mouth in that sacred moment changed everything. But the truth that followed, that changed everything even more. My relationship with Vera started off so differently than where we ended up. When Kai first introduced me to his mother, she hugged me like I was already family. She made my favorite chocolate chip cookies, asked about my work as a graphic designer, and even complimented my earrings. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have such a welcoming future mother-in-law. Other friends had horror stories about their partners' mothers, but Vera seemed genuinely excited to have me in their lives. But somewhere between our engagement and wedding, things began to shift. It started small. Vera would make little comments about my cooking when she came over for dinner. "Oh, you season your chicken differently than I taught Kai," she'd say with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Or she'd rearrange items in my kitchen while helping with dishes, claiming she was just trying to be helpful. During our wedding planning, the comments became more frequent. She questioned every decision I made, from the flowers to the venue to my dress choice. "Are you sure about that color scheme, dear?" It's a bit bold, don't you think? When I chose a photographer she didn't approve of, she actually called 3 others to get quotes behind my back, then presented them to Kai as better options. The worst part was that she always framed her criticism as concern or helpfulness. She never outright said I was making bad choices, but she had a way of making me second-guess everything. Kai would defend her, saying she just wanted everything to be perfect because she loved us both. I started to feel like I was being overly sensitive, like maybe I was imagining the tension. When we found out I was pregnant last year, Vera's behavior intensified. She had opinions about everything from my prenatal vitamins to my choice of doctor. She insisted on coming to several of my appointments, even though I preferred to go alone or just with Kai. She'd sit in the waiting room and then pepper me with questions afterward about what the doctor said, as if she didn't trust me to relay information accurately. She bought baby clothes without asking what I wanted, always in colors and styles that reflected her taste rather than mine. When I gently mentioned that Kai and I wanted to pick out the nursery furniture ourselves, she looked hurt and said, "I just want to help my first grandchild have everything perfect." The guilt was overwhelming. How do you argue with a grandmother who claims she just wants the best for your baby? The breaking point came when she announced she would be present for the delivery. Not asked, announced. She told Kai it was important for her to be there for such a significant family moment, and he agreed before even discussing it with me. When I tried to express my concerns privately to Kai, he said his mother had been dreaming of this moment for years, and it would break her heart to be excluded. I felt trapped. This was supposed to be an intimate moment between Kai and me, welcoming our first child into the world. Instead, I was worrying about managing Vera's expectations and emotions during one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. But I didn't want to cause family drama or make Kai choose between his wife and his mother, so I reluctantly agreed. The morning I went into labor, Vera arrived at the hospital before we did. She had somehow convinced the nursing staff to let her wait in the room, and when we walked in, she was already rearranging the flowers and adjusting the blinds. "I wanted to make sure everything was perfect for when my grandchild arrives," she said, kissing Kai's cheek and giving me a brief hug. Throughout my labor, Vera provided constant commentary. She criticized my breathing technique, questioned the nurses about their procedures, and kept suggesting I should ask for different pain medications. She paced around the room like she was more nervous than I was, which somehow made my own anxiety worse. Every contraction was accompanied by her voice offering unsolicited advice or sharing stories about Kai's birth that I really didn't want to hear while in excruciating pain. Kai tried to mediate, holding my hand while also attempting to manage his mother's energy. I could see the stress on his face as he was pulled between supporting me and keeping his mother happy. The nurses, especially Jade, looked increasingly uncomfortable as the hours passed. This wasn't the peaceful, intimate birth experience I had envisioned. As my labor progressed and the moment of delivery approached, I hoped that once our baby arrived, all the tension would melt away. I imagined Vera's face lighting up with joy when she met her grandchild, and that pure love would override all the criticism and control issues. I thought this moment would finally bring us together as a real family. I had no idea that instead of bringing us together, the next few minutes would expose secrets that would tear our family apart forever. After 14 hours of labor, Luna finally arrived. The moment Dr. Cole placed her on my chest, everything else faded away. She was perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, and the most beautiful face I'd ever seen. Kai was crying, holding both of us, whispering, "She's here, she's really here," over and over. For those first precious seconds, it was just the three of us in our own little bubble of joy. Then Vera stepped closer to get her first look at her granddaughter. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched as Vera's expression changed from excitement to confusion, then to something that looked almost like suspicion. She tilted her head, studying Luna's face with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. The baby had beautiful olive-toned skin, darker than both Kai's pale complexion and my own fair skin. Her hair was thick and dark, with a slight wave that neither of us possessed. Her eyes, though still that newborn blue, had a distinctive almond shape. "Well," Vera said slowly, her voice cutting through the peaceful atmosphere like a knife. "She certainly doesn't look like what I expected." Kai looked up from admiring his daughter. "What do you mean, Mom? She's beautiful." Vera crossed her arms, her teacher voice emerging. "I mean, she doesn't look like either of you, at all." She moved even closer, peering at Luna with the same scrutiny she probably used to examine suspicious homework assignments. The skin tone, the hair texture, those eyes. "Kai, are you really not seeing this?" My heart started racing. Nurse Jade, who had been cleaning up nearby, froze with a towel halfway to the medical tray. Dr. Cole looked up from her paperwork, clearly sensing the shift in the room's energy. "Mom, babies don't always look exactly like their parents right away," Kai said, but I could hear uncertainty creeping into his voice. "Remember, you always said I looked nothing like Dad when I was born." Vera's laugh was sharp and bitter. "That's completely different, and you know it. This baby looks like she belongs to an entirely different family." She turned her gaze to me, and I felt like I was being cross-examined. "Zara, is there something you need to tell us?" The accusation hung in the air like poison. I clutched Luna closer to my chest, my protective instincts kicking in even as shock rendered me speechless. This couldn't be happening. This woman was questioning my fidelity in front of medical staff, in front of my husband, moments after I'd given birth to our daughter. "What are you implying?" I finally managed to whisper, my voice shaking with exhaustion and disbelief. "I'm not implying anything," Vera said, her tone growing more aggressive. "I'm asking directly. Have you been honest with my son about this pregnancy? Because that baby doesn't look like she has one drop of our family's blood in her veins." Kai stepped between us, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "Mom, stop it right now. You're being completely inappropriate." But Vera wouldn't back down. 30 years of teaching had given her an authoritative presence that was hard to challenge, and she wielded it like a weapon. "I'm being realistic, Kai. I'm protecting you from what's obviously a very difficult situation. Look at her." She gestured toward Luna, who had started to fuss, picking up on the tension in the room. "Look at your wife's face. She can't even deny it." "I don't need to deny anything because there's nothing to deny," I said, finding my voice as maternal rage began to override shock. "How dare you make such accusations? How dare you turn this beautiful moment into something ugly?" Other family members who had been waiting in the hallway began filtering into the room, drawn by the raised voices. Kai's father had arrived just in time to hear his wife questioning his new granddaughter's parentage. My own parents looked mortified as they realized what was happening. Dr. Cole moved closer to the bed, her professional demeanor intact, but her discomfort obvious. "Perhaps we should give the new family some privacy to discuss this," she suggested diplomatically. "There's nothing to discuss," Vera snapped. "The evidence is right in front of us. Zara, I know you were traveling for work conferences during your pregnancy. I know you had plenty of opportunities to meet other people. The least you can do is be honest about what you've done to our family." The room erupted in chaos. My father stepped forward, furious at the attack on his daughter. Kai's father looked embarrassed by his wife's behavior. Nurse Jade excused herself, clearly wanting to escape the family drama. But through it all, I just held Luna, staring at Vera in complete shock. This woman who had raised the man I loved, who had once welcomed me into her family, was now accusing me of the worst kind of betrayal. And the terrible part was, I could see doubt flickering in some of the faces around me. The seed she'd planted was already growing. The room felt like it was spinning around me, but holding Luna grounded me in a way I didn't expect. Looking down at her perfect little face, something fierce and protective rose up inside me. This was my daughter, my family, and I wasn't going to let Vera's accusations poison this moment or plant seeds of doubt that could destroy everything Kai and I had built together. I took a deep breath and looked directly at Vera. "I need you to listen to me very carefully," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. "What you just said to me, in front of our entire family, in front of medical professionals, moments after I gave birth to your granddaughter, is not only completely false, but absolutely unforgivable." Vera's eyebrows shot up. She clearly wasn't used to being challenged so directly. "Zara, I understand you're emotional right now, but we need to face reality. That baby doesn't look like she belongs to this family, and I have every right to ask questions." "No," I said firmly, sitting up straighter in the hospital bed. "You have no right to accuse me of cheating on your son. You have no right to question my character or my integrity. And you absolutely have no right to look at your granddaughter and suggest she doesn't belong in this family because of how she looks." My parents moved closer to the bed, my mother's face red with anger. "Vera, this is completely out of line," my mom said. "Our daughter has been nothing but faithful to your son, and for you to suggest otherwise is disgraceful." But Vera wasn't backing down. If anything, the challenge seemed to fuel her determination. "I'm not trying to be cruel, but I'm not going to pretend I don't see what's right in front of me. Zara, you traveled for work at least 6 times during your pregnancy. You had conferences in different cities, you stayed in hotels alone. Are you really going to stand there and tell me nothing happened?" The implication hit me like a physical blow. She had been keeping track of my business trips, cataloging them like evidence for this moment. "Are you serious right now? You've been building a case against me? Planning this accusation?" Kai, who had been looking back and forth between us in shock, finally found his voice. "Mom, what is wrong with you? Zara is my wife. She's the mother of my child. How can you say these things?" "Because I love you and I won't watch you be made a fool of," Vera shot back. "Son, sometimes the people we trust most are the ones who hurt us deepest. I'm trying to protect you from years of living a lie." That was it. The suggestion that I was living a lie, that my marriage was built on deception, that Luna wasn't Kai's daughter, it was too much. I made a decision in that moment that would change everything. "Get out," I said, my voice cutting through the chaos in the room. "Vera, I want you to leave this room right now." "Excuse me," she said, clearly not expecting such a direct confrontation. "You heard me. Either you apologize to me right now for these horrible accusations, or you leave. Those are your only two options." I looked at Kai, hoping he would support me. I won't have my daughter's first moments in this world poisoned by someone who thinks so little of her mother. Vera's face flushed red. "You can't kick me out of my own granddaughter's birth. Kai, tell her she can't do this." For a moment, Kai stood frozen between us, and I could see the internal battle playing out on his face. His loyalty to his mother warred with his love for me and our daughter. The room held its breath, waiting to see whose side he would take. Finally, Kai stepped closer to the bed and put his hand on my shoulder. "Mom, Zara's right. What you're saying is hurtful and wrong. These accusations are completely unfounded and they need to stop." "Kai, please," Vera pleaded, her authoritative mask slipping to reveal desperation underneath. "Just look at the baby. Really look at her. Use your head, not your heart." "I am looking at her," Kai said, his voice growing stronger. "I'm looking at my beautiful daughter who has my wife's stubborn chin and what looks like it might be my grandfather's nose. I'm looking at the child we created together, the child we've been planning for and dreaming about for months." Dr. Cole stepped forward, clearly uncomfortable with the family drama unfolding in her delivery room. "Perhaps we should focus on the baby's health and well-being. Family discussions can happen in private." But Vera wasn't finished. "Fine. If you won't listen to reason, maybe you'll listen to science. Get a paternity test. Prove me wrong. If you're so confident, Zara, you shouldn't have any problem with that." The challenge hung in the air, and I realized this was the moment that would define not just our family's future, but my own strength and dignity. The tension in the room was suffocating. Everyone stared at me, waiting for my response to Vera's demand for a paternity test. I could feel the weight of their expectations, their doubts, their judgment. Even some of the people who loved me most seemed to be wondering if maybe, just maybe, Vera had a point. But before I could respond, "Doctor." Cole cleared her throat. "Actually," she said, her voice careful and measured, "there's something I need to discuss with the family. I was planning to wait until we were in a private setting, but given the current circumstances, I think you all deserve to know now." Every head in the room turned toward her. Vera's face lit up with vindication, clearly expecting the doctor to confirm her suspicions about Luna's parentage. Kai gripped my hand tighter, and I could feel him bracing for the worst. "During routine blood work that we do for all newborns," Dr. Cole continued, "we discovered something unexpected. The baby's blood work prompted us to run additional tests, including genetic markers that help us understand family medical history." "And?" Vera prompted, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "What did you find?" Dr. Cole looked directly at Vera, her expression serious. "We found that Kai is not Luna's biological father." The room erupted. Vera's triumphant expression faltered as she processed what came next. "However," Dr. Cole continued, raising her voice over the chaos, "it's not because Zara was unfaithful. The genetic markers show that Kai himself is not the biological son of the man he believes to be his father." Dead silence. "What?" Kai whispered, his face draining of color. Dr. Cole's voice was gentle but firm. "The tests indicate that Kai's biological father is of Mediterranean descent, which explains Luna's physical characteristics. She inherited those traits through her father's actual genetic line, not through any infidelity on Zara's part." All eyes turned to Vera, whose face had gone from flushed red to pale white in a matter of seconds. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "That's impossible," Kai's father said from the corner of the room. "Vera, tell them that's impossible." But Vera was staring at the floor, her hands trembling. The confident, accusatory woman who had been attacking me moments before had completely crumbled. "Vera," I said quietly, "is there something you need to tell us?" She looked up at me with tears in her eyes, then at Kai, then at her husband. "I never meant for anyone to find out this way," she whispered. "Find out what?" Kai demanded, his voice breaking. Vera took a shaky breath. 31 years ago, your father and I were having problems. We'd been trying to have a baby for years, and the doctors said he was infertile. I was devastated. I felt like a failure as a woman, as a wife. Vera, don't, her husband warned. But she continued, I met someone at a teaching conference. His name was Marco, and he was kind and funny, and he made me feel beautiful again. It was only one night, I swear. Just one night when I felt completely hopeless about our marriage and our future. Kai was shaking now. Are you telling me that my entire life has been a lie? When I found out I was pregnant, I was terrified. But your father was so happy, so excited to finally be having a baby. The doctors said it was a miracle, that sometimes these things just happen. I convinced myself that maybe it really was a miracle, that maybe you really were his son. But you knew, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You knew the whole time. Vera nodded, tears streaming down her face. I knew there was a chance. Marco was Italian and you looked so much like him when you were born. But as you grew older, you started looking more like my side of the family. And I thought maybe I'd been wrong. I hoped I'd been wrong. So when you saw Luna, Kai said slowly, you recognized the features. She looks exactly like Marco did, Vera admitted. The same eyes, the same skin tone, the same hair. It was like seeing a ghost. The room was completely silent except for the sound of Vera's quiet sobs. Kai's father stood frozen in the corner, his face a mask of shock and betrayal. My parents looked stunned, while the medical staff tried to make themselves invisible. You destroyed our family, Kai's father said quietly. You built our entire life on a lie. And then, I added, my voice growing stronger, when your own guilt and shame became too much to bear, you tried to destroy mine. Vera looked at me with desperate eyes. I'm sorry, Zara, I'm so sorry. When I saw Luna, all those feelings came rushing back, and I panicked. I thought if I could make it about you, then maybe no one would ever have to know the truth about me. But the truth always comes out, Doctor, Cole said gently. Always. The room stayed silent for what felt like hours after Vera's confession. Kai's father was the first to move, walking slowly toward the door without saying a word. 31 years of marriage, of believing he was raising his biological son, of trusting the woman he loved, all of it shattered in an instant. Robert, wait, Vera called after him, but he didn't turn around. Don't, he said quietly. Just don't. The door closed behind him with a soft click that somehow felt louder than if he'd slammed it. Vera collapsed into the chair beside my bed, her face buried in her hands. The powerful, controlling woman who had dominated every family gathering for 3 years was completely broken. Kai hadn't moved since the revelation. He stood there holding Luna, staring down at her face with a mixture of love and confusion. She's still mine, he whispered. Biology doesn't change the fact that she's still my daughter. Of course she is, I said, reaching for his hand. Nothing changes that, nothing changes us. But I could see the questions in his eyes. Who was he if not the man he'd believed himself to be his entire life? What did this mean for his identity, his sense of self? His whole foundation had been rocked, and I knew it would take time for him to process everything. Dr. Cole approached us carefully. I know this is overwhelming, but I want you to know that genetically, there are no health concerns for Luna. She's perfectly healthy, and her heritage is actually quite beautiful. The Mediterranean genetic markers often result in very resilient, healthy children. Thank you, Kai said softly, for handling this professionally. I know this isn't exactly standard delivery room drama. Actually, you'd be surprised, Dr. Cole said with a gentle smile. Families are complicated. The important thing is that you focus on what matters most, your beautiful daughter and your love for each other. Over the next few hours, extended family members gradually left the room. Some offered quiet congratulations and support, while others seemed uncomfortable with the drama that had unfolded. My parents stayed, offering to help with anything we needed. They'd watched their daughter be accused of infidelity and then vindicated in the most dramatic way possible. Vera eventually stopped crying and tried to approach Kai. Son, I know I've hurt you terribly, but please don't shut me out. You're still my boy. the child I raised and loved every single day of your life." Kai looked at her for a long moment. "I need time, Mom. I need time to figure out who I am now, and I need time to forgive you for what you put Zara through, what you put all of us through." "But I was scared," Vera pleaded. "I've been carrying this secret for over 30 years. When I saw Luna, I panicked. I thought if I could make it someone else's fault, then maybe I could keep my secret buried forever. Instead, you tried to destroy an innocent woman's reputation and marriage," I said, my voice firm but not unkind. "You were willing to let me be branded as unfaithful rather than face your own truth." Vera nodded, fresh tears spilling over. I know how terrible that was. I'm so sorry, Zara. You didn't deserve any of this." "No, I didn't," I agreed. "But maybe Luna did deserve to know her real heritage. Maybe Kai deserved to know the truth about his father. Maybe your husband deserved honesty after 3 decades of marriage." "What do I do now?" Vera asked, looking lost and smaller than I'd ever seen her. "You start by being honest," Kai said. "With Dad, with yourself, with everyone. You figure out how to rebuild trust, if that's even possible. And you respect our boundaries while we figure out what our family looks like moving forward." 3 months later, Kai and I are stronger than ever. We named our daughter Luna Hope, and she's brought more joy into our lives than I could have imagined. Kai found his biological father, Marco, who's now 67 and living in California. They've been building a relationship slowly, and Luna has gained a grandfather who's thrilled to be part of her life. Vera and Robert are in counseling, trying to decide if their marriage can survive such a fundamental betrayal. Some days, I feel sorry for her, carrying that secret for so long. Other days, I remember how she was willing to destroy my reputation to protect herself, and the sympathy fades. The most important lesson I learned is that the people who accuse you loudest of their own crimes are often the ones with the most to hide. Projection is a powerful force, and sometimes the finger pointers are really just trying to deflect attention from their own guilt. Kai and I have built our own little family unit based on truth, love, and mutual respect. Luna doesn't care about genetics or family drama. She just knows she's loved unconditionally by her parents. If this story resonated with you, please share it with others who might need to hear it. Leave a comment below about your own experiences with family drama or unexpected revelations. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories that prove truth really is stranger than fiction.